Hey everyone, it's Brian at Pray Trade Repeat. Pray Trade Repeat on TikTok, Pray Trade Repeat on YouTube, and PrayTradeRepeat.com is my website. Today we're talking about IXHL as usual, IXHL, Incannex Healthcare Inc., specifically the GLP-1 versus IHL42X controversy. I just wanted to jump on here and get a TikTok video up because I haven't been able to, you know, talk to you guys much recently, and I just want to make sure you understand how much I appreciate all your support, and just jump on here and talk a little bit. Let's see. So today the stock right now is trading at 0.3995. It's about almost 40 cents. It's kind of like coiled pretty tightly, in my opinion. As far as the GLP-1 controversy, kind of basically the narrative has changed, and you can tell that, like, big pharma, people with billions and millions of dollars are, literally changing the narrative right in front of us to say that, not only does the success of GLP-1s and, tirzepatide, Mounjaro, Zepbound have an effect on weight loss, but they also now are trying to jump into our lane and say that they have an effect on our asset, IHL 42X. Should be here. Hopefully, I'll put it there. And IHL 42X is a combination therapy of Incannex Healthcare Inc. If you're not invested in the stock, now is a good time to take a position and swing trade it. So IHL 42X is a first-in-class, first ever pill for sleep apnea. There's so much non-compliance with these masks that people wear, the CPAP masks. That CPAP company is called ResMed. That company is worth $42 billion. Our company is worth $138 million right now. And we have a pill to eradicate those masks. It's in phase 2/3 clinical trials. It was fast-tracked on December 3rd by the FDA because they feel like it's going to meet an unmet need. And that fast track designation allows us to have more frequent interactions and conversations with the FDA, including data readouts and commencements, information, etc. We also have the annual general meeting of shareholders that's scheduled for the 15th of January. There's lots to talk about that. One thing that we can all agree on is that the company hasn't said much since the 10Q, which was the last quarterly earnings report, right? Okay, so the company, by the way, has zero debt. It's got a quarterly burn rate of about $9 million. I'm going to say a little more. And they have about, on paper, $69.5 million in cash. I'm sure they burned through some of that. Like I said, a quarterly burn rate of $9 million. So if you do the math, we have $60 million in cash right now, moving into phase 3 trials for IHL 42X, the obstructive sleep apnea drug, the pill, as well as the build out and infrastructure and phase 2, 3, or phase 2. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now on PSX001, which is synthetic psilocybin. It's just psilocybin. They didn't invent the drug. You can't invent psilocybin. It already exists. But they have found a way to have favorable discussions about regulations as a combination therapy with psychotherapy to treat general anxiety disorder, which is another $9 or $10 billion addressable market. Finally, we have IHL 675A, which is a rheumatoid arthritis drug. I don't think it's totally underrated. We don't talk about it much at all, but that addresses about $40 billion in addressable markets. And that is for rheumatoid arthritis. If you've seen any clinical trial sites, if you want to register for a clinical trial, the number one clinical trial you're going to find is arthritis, knee arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. It's been there for 20 or 30 years. They don't have a cure for it. They don't have any kind of substantial treatment for it other than pain meds, right? So we're using THC, CBD, and now psilocybin to treat addressable markets for unmet needs. Okay, general anxiety disorder. Number one asset is our obstructive sleep apnea drug, IHL 42X, and we also have the rheumatoid arthritis drug. All of these in phase 2, 3 clinical trials. We also have IHL 218, or it's either 218A or 216A. That is the The inhaler for it's a ketamine and I'm going to say dronabinol or cannabinoid combination therapy. I could be wrong. Inhaler to treat traumatic brain injury. That is a preclinical. That's in preclinical right now, but at any moment they can tell us that that's now going into human trials, right? So these are the assets that we have. We also have a laundry list of patents that didn't matter until the marijuana reclassification from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 recently. And now, so we're now just waiting for a few more months for the DEA to validate that reclassification of marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. And then all of those patents become very valuable. So we have a very valuable company. Let's get right into the GLP-1 controversy and the new narrative. You have big pharma that and companies like ResMed, these huge market caps that see that the positioning of IHL42X, Incannex Healthcare, and the R obstructive sleep apnea pill, and they're starting to position themselves and slowly change the narrative that they are the number one alternative to the CPAP machine with their obesity drugs or their diabetes drugs. However, IHL42X, our obstructive sleep apnea candidate, phase 2/3, fast tracked by the FDA, is specifically for the unmet need of OSA, obstructive sleep apnea. Okay, so that said, regardless of what anyone's saying, IHL42X specifically meets that need and has an 83% apnea-hypopnea index measurement, right? So super effective. So you can understand why the company is quiet. And just get this out as well for anyone who's new to the stock. NDA means two things in penny stock biotechs or in biotechs. NDA means non-disclosure agreement, means you can't talk because you're in the middle of a partnership. Someone's going to partner with you, buy you out. And it also means new drug application. So two of those things are happening at the same time, and they both have the same acronym, NDA. Okay. So with the GLP-1 thing, you see the narratives, you see how people are talking on Twitter, they're talking on stock tweets, they're talking, and everyone's like, there's always going to be a bear narrative. And this is the bear narrative lately, is this GLP-1 narrative. They're trying to push in and say that they have some kind of position in this and that and et cetera, right? Okay. So if we look at the science behind all of that, we see, there are people saying 50%, okay, let Eli Lilly have 50% of the addressable market for OSA with their obesity drugs and diabetes drugs. And we still have 50% of the addressable market for, directly addressing the unmet need of obstructive sleep apnea and the non-compliance issues with CPAP machines. And just the general convenience of not having to put that mask on, right? Okay, so that said, I'm talking fast because it's a 10-minute max video. That said, what I'd like to move into next and just close with this is that I would like to talk about who Joe Latham is and whether or not he can take this rugby football to the goal line, right? Because when you have big pharma who has $50 billion and we have 138 million, the narrative, this is how media works. If there's zero conflict, there's zero engagement, right? So what do I mean by that? This is how the narrative changes. I got 1 minute left. When you have 40, $50 billion, you can sway the narrative of what everyone thinks by using media, social media, the news stations, newspaper articles, radios, Super Bowl commercials, and you can just destroy and eradicate a company with $138 million. So my question for shareholders is this: is it time for a new CEO, or can Joe Latham take us to the promised land? Can he get a deal done? Because we do not want to be boxed out of our asset, our number one asset, by big pharma, just because they have more money and they can change the narrative, right? And how long can we stay in first place in the obstructive sleep apnea race? That's the question. Have a great day.